Well, at least 3 people are dead and 174 people are injured after a rare tornado in Havana, Cuba. The storm hit late Sunday night, causing blackouts and severe damage. It started in South Florida, where it knocked down trees and power lines.
CBS News producer Portia Siegelbaum is on the phone, joining us now from Havana. So, Portia, describe what you're seeing there on the ground.
It's terrible. Not all of the city. It's certain neighborhoods that got hit, and they are just totally devastated. You see collapsed buildings, rubble, broken glass in the streets, telephone and electric posts either completely down, sometimes they've fallen on top of cars that were parked in the street, or just, hanging at an awkward angle, held up only because their cables have caught onto a building roof. So it's quite a devastating scene this morning. A lot of streets are still blocked. There are recovery crews out and health workers. They're still searching through rubble, looking for potentially more victims, although it looks like they've gotten most of the people out of the area. But it's quite a devastated picture, and I imagine that all the people living there are just horrified, wondering how they're going to get on with their lives.
What have the rescue and recovery efforts been like? Do they have the equipment that they need to save and find people?
Yes, absolutely. The Cubans are very good. This is not tornado country, but it's hurricane country. So the civil defense here works very closely with the military, and they are very well organized at evacuating people, rescuing people. That's what they're good at. And normally you don't have any deaths. It's that the tornado took everyone by surprise. We were all waiting for the entry of a cold front, and cold fronts coming to Cuba always with very heavy pelting rain. And where I live, that's what happened. It started raining, and then all of a sudden the lights went, and we started hearing sirens from ambulances and fire trucks. And they were rushing to the areas where the tornado had gone through. And so instantly, the military rolls out. There's tanks, there's a fire department. Everybody's out on the ground right away, and that's the one thing they do very, very well in this country.
It's interesting that you point that out, Portia, because I was going to ask you something along those lines. Cuba is one of those few countries in that part of the Caribbean that when, for example, hurricanes are about to hit, you don't see the devastation that you see in some of the neighboring countries that don't have the infrastructure that Cuba has when it comes to warning citizens about hurricanes, the kind of training that people go through to prevent the kind of devastation we've seen, for example, in Haiti. And so I wonder, given that this sort of came out of nowhere, what are the next steps, and has the president given any updates?
Well, at this moment, the president of the country, who was out, in the earlier 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, he was touring some of the worst-hit areas. He just tweeted that he's now meeting with the Council of Ministers to figure how they're going to go ahead for the recovery, because they had to evacuate housing. There were partial collapses of buildings and total collapses. The housing units in Havana are in terrible state. I would say there's some 70% are in poor condition, and 30% are, even worse. So there was a huge hospital, a maternity hospital, that all the windows were blown out, and they had to evacuate all the women that were waiting to have the babies, the women who had just given birth. They were all moved out during the night. So they have to figure out how they're going to proceed and what they're going to do with these people afterwards, where they're going to put them to live, how they're going to recover. Also, the one thing based on their hurricane experiences, they have the crews out there fixing the electricity and the telephone service. And it's notable that when the storms hit Puerto Rico and Cuba, how much more quickly Cuba reestablished electricity service compared to Puerto Rico, for example. I mean, it was really within a week they had it up because they just had that experience and they've got it down pat. It's a military operation here.
Portia, thank you so much for your reporting. Please stay safe. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Drew. Bye.